failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
My message to any dad, man, first off, know that, yeah, it is a hard job, but it's the greatest job in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything you're doing from here on out, if it didn't have purpose before, now it has purpose. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Just be a dad.
My first week teaching English in Thailand. Whew, what an experience it's been already. The night before my first day, I was excited, but I can't lie, I was nervous too. I've always loved working with kids. If you know, you know. My mom's been a teacher since before I was born. So maybe this path was always in me. Walking on the campus, the first thing I noticed was how big it was. It's like a mini university, but the moment that really stuck with me was introducing myself in front of the entire school. I was in the middle of speaking when a group of students shouted out and just started clapping. The whole place just laughed and cheered, and in that moment, I felt welcome. I teach students ages 12 through 18. The younger ones are full of energy, showing off what they know. The older ones, they really chill, but respectful. I came in ready to learn from them, not just teach. Honestly, I didn't choose this journey. It chose me. A guy hit me up on Instagram asking if I'd be interested in teaching abroad. At the time, I was looking for a career shift anyway, something that let me give back, connect, and grow. If there's one thing I tell anybody watching this video, you have to let go of the old version of yourself to embrace your new life. And real vision is when the universe introduces you to the you haven't even met yet. Most people chase clarity, but I've learned that clarity starts with identity.
Welcome to another episode of Dad Is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael, changing the narrative for men of color fatherhood, as well as changing the narrative on the things I care about. And today I have a great guest with me. You know, I was on the TikTok and, you know, those algorithms that catch you. And this brother was on and he shared his personal first day as a teacher in Thailand. So I'm like, yo, I got to hit this brother up because I want to know his perspective of being Black, living in Thailand, and just share his personal journey through life. Brother, thank you for coming on. Devin Santino Johnson. Again, brother, thank you for popping up on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. So, for
Before
me,
we get into it, all right, he is a filmmaker, entrepreneur, and an educator whose journey from the Southeast DC to South Asia transformed his life and career. So this guy does a lot of things, and I know he's a writer because he writes everything down. So that's a beautiful thing. So what I want to ask you, because I ask all my guests this because I'm all about mental health. How's your heart at this moment?
it's filled with joy and blessings, man. I'm just practicing gratitude every day. You know, I didn't expect to be in this position today, although I've had some inclination in my mind. I just believed in the unknown, so I'm blessed, man.
Definitely. But also just talk about how were you able to reach that level of gratitude? Because that's something it's like, you know, it's not there. It's something that it's like levels to get to that point where you're at that point where you're content. I know a lot of people don't like that word content, but content and gratitude to me go hand in hand.
Oh man, it started early on in childhood, just really taking advantage of moments of isolation, um, not getting too hard on myself, and a lot of self reflection. You know, speaking on, I think it's good to speak on this point because your podcast is around the subject of dads. I definitely had my father in my life, and at a certain point in his life, he had to do some time and sit down. Fortunately, I never had to do that, but if it wasn't for his teachings and stuff like that, um, I think that definitely helped my root. So yeah, just a lot of self reflection, around like 2018, after I graduated college, I moved to Puerto Rico to work for my job, and that was hard on me because that was the first time me actually living outside the city. I was the only one, and it was a language barrier, so it was a lot of times where I did have to spend to myself, and that's where I started focusing on like meditation to help me not erase my thoughts, but calm my thoughts and learn how to sit with them. So that's where that comes from.
And then just talk about like what did you learn personally about meditation that helped you into like that phase of your life where you start writing down your you would date and then talk about what happened on that day. So just like, talk about from how meditation helped you to get you to just start journaling your everyday thing.
Just trying to figure out a way to, um, take the thoughts from, just crumbling up here and either like lashing out or letting it spew through different behaviors and just learning to sit with them. I really wanted to find a way to do that because I could start to see the toll that it would take on like the relationships that I was in, not just relationships with women, but relationships in general with my family, brothers, sisters, stuff like that. I always had I, I always had well, I was always good at writing, um, even though I didn't always think that. And as I did start writing, as as I started the meditation journey, it was a way for me to get those thoughts out without feeling like without judging them. Uh, Sometimes I would go back and read it, and sometimes I just wouldn't. It was just a way for me to just let those thoughts flow. Uh, and yeah, the biggest part was actually not judging them. I think a lot of times we may, have a thought in our head and then we like, oh no, I gotta stop thinking that way. But it's a reason that it comes up, and it's power in being able to, sit with the thought, understanding why it may have came up and just doing the deep work. So that's the part that I fell in love with and getting comfortable with myself because I could start seeing when I did start back, having conversations with my family, having conversations with the people that were around me, they started telling me how much I've grown or how much they've just seen me elevate, and so that inspired me to continue to do that work.
And then also through that journey, how were you able to learn to accept letting go? And I think that's like one of the biggest part of your transition of evolution of just letting go. You know what I mean? Whether it's a significant other or just things in your life or just going into a new place. Just talk about that in your personally.
Man, it's something that I still work through today. I don't give myself a lot of credit when it comes to that because some situations I'll be like, man, I thought I let that go, but uh, and it just resurfaces. But I do give myself grace and knowing that either the thought or the feeling might not go away, but how I handle it is definitely much different than how I probably would have handled it before. I think the initial like starting point of that was I was 8 years old when I lost my grandfather or when my grandfather transitioned. And it's funny that I just said lost because it'll contradict what I'm about to say now. The first thing that my mom told me, that was the first death that I had to deal with.
Mm.
So as that was my mom's father. So when he transitioned, in order for I don't remember crying at his funeral, but I knew it took a toll on me emotionally. He was a big pillar in on my mom's side of the family. Everybody, even the grandkids, called him daddy. So he was that. That just shows how much of a impact it had. She told me that he may be physically gone, but he's always with you, and that like was so powerful. It sounds so simple, but I find myself telling other people this as they, deal with transition, and it may go over their heads, but it's something that stuck with me till this day. Like whether it's just little symbolism, it definitely helped me cope with that whole process. So starting from 8 years old, I don't know, that gave me like a battery in my back. Like I look at transitioning a lot differently than than most people, and that's what has definitely helped me let go in a sense. But yeah, I still I'm still working through that.
So no, I agree with you 100%, but that's a part of growing. You like things that you thought and things that you felt and things that you were going through is different now than it was a couple of years ago. You was a little kid at that time. So, that's a part of life, that's a part of growing. But also let's transition to like learning how to pivot. You've done so many things in your life, filmmaker, the list is endless. Now a teacher in Thailand. So just talk about your journey from pivoting from filmmaker to now a teacher in Thailand.
Yeah, that actually learning how to pivot started also when I was younger. That same year when my grandfather died, I was 8 years old. I started playing football. Um, at first, I was going to the same school that my mom. My mom's been an educator since the year before I was born. I was going to the same school she taught at up until the beginning of third grade, and then I transferred. And at that school, that's when we found a recreation center. I started going to a rec, and I started playing football. From from the first year, after the first year, I remember we made it all the way to the championship, but we lost. And it was such a good year, man. I got offensive player of the year. It was just such a good year. But that was my first another loss that I was trying to like cope with. And she'd always tell me like, football isn't everything. It's not gonna be your only thing throughout life. Yeah, you may play. She was never shooting down my dreams of wanting to continue, but she was saying it's just not everything. So, you know, after that loss, going into school the next day, not carrying that with you and stuff like that. So that definitely helped. It still hurt, but that helped. Just knowing that it's just not everything, and that you have other opportunities, other outlets that you can dive into. Another one of those things was being art. That same year, I had like a art class where I just thought I was randomly, just being a kid, just drawing on some construction paper. But come to find out, like a week or so later, it was like a representative from an art museum or art exhibit had came to the class and wanted to submit like a piece of my art. So even from that, it was like, man, you kind of you have a artistic side that you can go with too. So that's just me speaking to myself. So I ended up playing sports all the way up until the end of high school. But I was also, being as though my mom was an educator, I was, doing pretty well in school. So I never felt like I had a lack mind. I never had a lack mindset. I felt like, oh, I could pursue anything that, you know, I put my all into. So um, by the end of high school, I still had no intentions of doing film or anything. But going into college, I felt a lot of pressure by my family because not not every single grandchild took the college route. And on my dad's side, I'm probably like the only one, but um, especially on my mom's side, I was definitely getting a lot of support, but it was more of a like push, like, all right, now you go, you get it done. And honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to study in college. I did have a cousin after he got out the military. He's got his degree in computer engineering, and he was like a mentor to me at the time. So by my mom taking a liking to what he was doing for me, I was like, man, I go to school, went to high school for IT and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll study computer engineering. But truth be told, it really wasn't my like passion. I definitely saying like you could make a ton of money from it. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. But after my freshman year of college, it was it wasn't hard or anything. It was just like I said, just not a passion. So of course, I went to a HBCU, a lot of parties, a lot of stuff like that. So that's when I kind of figured out. Oh, also beginning of college, I wanted to, continue sports, but man, like the first week, I heard like the schedule of the football team. They were doing 2 a days. You had to start at 4 a.m. And I'm like, it's my first year of college. I don't know, man. So I, I'm be honest. I just erased that out of my mind. I'm like, I'm here in college. I could, pivot. I could transition. I could let it go. Um, that doesn't mean that I have to stop working out physically or anything. It just the football dreams can turn into something else. So that freshman year, I was just open, having fun, going out, just being a regular college student, And by the end of that year, I had made up in my mind that I was actually, just tired of partying on the weekends and doing the same thing. I wanted to actually just make some money.
Right.
So that's when I picked up a camera. That's when I
Mm.
started teaching myself how to uh, video edit. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit because um, I my aunt she's been an entrepreneur since I was younger, and even in like grade school and high school, I went from selling gum to selling T-shirts. So I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. So by the time I got in college, it was like, man, I got a bigger network, a bigger audience. Let's just see where it goes from here. So I found a niche inside the parties. I'm like, every single party I'm at, I don't see a cameraman. So I'll I'll pick up a camera and I reached out to like this one promoting agency they were actually promoting on the campus. So throughout the summer, after my freshman year, I was teaching myself how to edit, picked up the camera, started just recording myself. By the first week of school, there was always like this big welcoming orientation party. So I reached out to the promoting agency. I said, hey, I'll shoot this party for free, get you some videos and some pictures. Just let me show you the work. And then, we could talk about whatever you want to do down the line, but just, give me the opportunity. And they did. That first party, I shot it. Didn't feel like work at all. Was having fun. But the same night, I was editing and I got the pictures sent out. So by the next morning, everything was all on social media. And so people were
Right.
seeing their videos, seeing their faces, and they were like, the promoter agency was definitely like, yeah, we're gonna add you to the payroll now. So that was the first pivot, from the sports into the film. And I carried the same mentality I had from the sports into the film. So it wasn't hard at all. Like I was just stuck in grind mode. If I wasn't in class, I was learning how to edit a video, or I was already editing. If I wasn't editing, I was reaching out to people, just trying to do work. At that time, I I didn't know like if I wanted to be a film director. I was just doing just videography, but I love music. I love music videos. I like watching 106 and Pop growing up, and Rap City in the basement. And I love movies. Just I was in tune with the culture for real. So it took off from there. And after after that first year I started, I asked along for some help from my friends. My friends were interested in, just wanting to help out. So formed a team and we took it from there. We got established. We got up and running in 2014, 2015. We got established and we got our LLC in about 2017, 2018. By that time, we had like documented a tour for the artist Wale. We had worked
Wow.
with a lot of artists from our city and just from the surrounding areas. Built a name on YouTube. So just seeing a lot of success, all while I was just still in college. And when I would go back home, my mom and dad would be like, "So what are you doing with this whole computer engineering thing? We don't hear you talking about that no more."
They're
So
like, well, mom, dad, I have something to tell you.
it was funny because those first few years were hard because I would come back. My school was only about 2 or 3 hours away. So I would come back on the weekends often just to shoot a couple videos, do some work. So they were like, "You always home. Like, why aren't you at school?" And I'm
Right.
like, I got this venture going. And it took a while for them to understand, but I say about year two, I started getting Google checks in the mail from YouTube. So they didn't believe it at first until
Right.
taxes came around, and I'm like, I got a 1099 from Google, and they're like, "What?" So yeah, man, it was a great feeling to just bring that idea into reality and to make it something bigger. When I graduated school, I always felt that was a priority. If I start something, I gotta finish it. So even though it took me an extra semester to graduate, I got it done. Um, Parents were definitely happy about that. And I'd say about 6 months into graduating, it was extremely hard for me to find a computer engineering opportunity.
Right.
Um, the school education was very good, but the hands-on experience and the connections just wasn't there.
Right.
And it was a balance of me actually pursuing those connections, but also just me being the color of my skin. So
Right.
I was putting in applications daily, but
Right.
I also had the film and video stuff going. So it was a matter of me making that a reality. And so about 6 months into it, I was battling with, do I go in full time on my dream, or uh, you know, do I succumb to the pressures of my parents, and not only just my parents but other people around me saying, "Oh, just get a 9 to 5 and make something happen." So I was dealing with that for a couple months. It was my friend who was also a co-worker inside the business. His mom had reached out and said she had an opportunity at her job for me to travel, get some work done. It was a 9 to 5, but it was a more so on call. So they would send me an assignment, and I could either accept or decline. For the meantime, I could do my thing, and I was like, "Oh, that's the best of both worlds." You feel what I'm saying? I got the time to do what I want, but also I don't feel like I have to just clock in every single day. So I graduated in December. I applied to that opportunity by February. Throughout that summer, I was still like doing well. As the year progressed, I was still doing videos and stuff, but it became a time where just money just dried up. I was like just trying to figure out how to maintain or just how to elevate the business, and it was a little difficult because I did have partners and we weren't always seeing eye to eye. So um, I ended up getting the opportunity to mentor kids inside of video production at a boys and girls club that I used to go to. And one of my mentors had reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, you could come work over the summer and teach the kids how to make videos and do and video edit." So I'm like, "Oh man, that falls in line." So I did that for the summer. I had an opportunity to go to California. It was always my goal. Like I always wanted to go to California or Atlanta when I graduated. So the same year that I graduated, I went to California 3 times, bro. Like 3 times, and it was within the span of like a month. So I'm like,
Wow.
wow, it was amazing. Um, and right after I landed from California, after working with the kids, I got a call from the job opportunity with my friend's mom, and they said, "Hey, come to Puerto Rico and start working for." It was at first 45 days max, but
Right.
I ended up extending and staying out there for about 7 months. So
Wow.
during that time, there was no video production. I mean, I lied. I still had like clients that would reach out and for me to do like video edits,
Right.
and of course I had the team back home. But again, that's where the meditation thing comes in because I was battling thoughts of, man, did I leave my team out to dry,
Right.
or am I selfish for doing this? And
Right.
so that yeah, that's what led me to meditation and learning how to just deal with my thoughts. So I stayed out there for about 7 months and stacked my money up, reinvested into the business, and we just kept it going. Once I came back home, just hopped right back on it. And fortunately, the business is still around today. Like,
That's
and
phenomenal.
it's been 12 years. So it that pivot definitely wasn't hard. I think one thing that helped that was starting with sports and exercise. That's something that I never let up on, even after high school football. I had a very good trainer who actually taught us how to exercise, and that's
Wow.
what helped me stay motivated throughout those years. And yeah, just getting that work done while I did have a job over here, but also trying to maintain the business.
Right.
Stayed in the gym, stayed like kept my body right, stayed eating
Right.
right, and that allowed me to get those things done. A lot of people say, "Man, you never take a break from work. Like you got to chill," and it's like I don't even feel like I'm doing it. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. So,
No, no, no. I feel you on that, but it's just like the gym. Con- that is your break because what it does
exactly.
is it helps you not think about everything else that goes around your world. This is like your time. You're not on a
Yeah.
client time. You're on your time, which I think is a beautiful thing to do. I think that's what I call like a good habit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And learning
for
that at an
sure.
early age is just helping you as you go through your journey. And the one thing I love hearing is that your net worth is your network, and the people that you're around with you. When an opportunity comes, they're like, "Hey, I got this opportunity. You want to take advantage of it?" You can say yes or no, but just that beauty of that networking over the years puts you in the right situation. But yeah, just talk about that and how that led you into becoming a teacher in Thailand.
Wow. So I did a few uh I did a few terms of like I was going off to work in different states, like Florida, Maine, and stuff like that. But while I was home again, I was still doing video production. But the team kind of like started going separate ways. So it was more so me. I was finding myself taking on solo bookings more so, and as much as I probably didn't like it, it was also reminding me, hey, of like dreams and thoughts that I've had in the previous time, and also just letting go. Um, I saw big moves as a team that we could make, but I also knew that there were things that I wanted to do that um, that I wasn't putting my full attention into, and one of those things was making a film. While I was working
Mm.
in Florida, I was editing a music video that one of my partners had sent me, and one night I found myself like, man, I don't have to do this anymore. Like music is always gonna be there. I feel that, but I don't. If some at that point, I felt like I was obligated, and that conversation that night with myself, I was just telling myself, I don't have to do this. Like, what if I could just do exactly what I wanted to do, and that was make a film. So
Mm.
some people call it a prayer. I just sat I was laying down in my bed, and I remember this vividly. And I was like, I will make a feature film one day. Like, I will do that. So it was a reminder to myself, like, go ahead and pursue that. And I was planting that seed. Um,
Mm.
in saying that, I kind of put the thought there, and I
Right.
forgot about it. I let
Mm.
myself forget about it. And the seed actually just started growing. There was a lot of stuff in between, like the business that just dismantled, but I just
Right.
still kept it going. I was also in a relationship throughout that time, but in about like 2 or 3 years ago, we separated ways, and
Right.
a lot of it had to do with me letting go of that old version of myself and trying to pursue something new. After after I did the work and I was able to communicate that, we both saying that we didn't see eye to eye and we wanted different things, which is a great conversation to have, because you don't want somebody by your side just not happy, and that goes for both ways. So um I expressed what I wanted, she expressed what she wanted, and we separated ways. And I didn't have anything figured out. Like, we were living together, and when it was time to renew the lease, I had about like 2 months to figure out my living situation. And
Right.
throughout that whole year, because I was going through that inside the household, it had an effect on my work, as far as like video production. It had effect on just all my relationships in general. I had to take accountability for that, and I made a promise to myself that, hey, I'm gonna do this work. I don't
Right.
care if I gotta if there's no money in my bank account every single day. I gotta do something to make myself feel better, spiritually, and align with
Mm.
the things that I wanted to do. So around the time when we made that decision to split, I lost a friend. Well, one of my friends, he transitioned. He was younger than me. He was like a little brother. He was the last of who we grew up around that
Right.
was in the streets heavily. And
Right.
unfortunately, that's how his life was taken. It hit home so much that for a couple days, yeah, I was going through the relationship thing, but that came second after a while. It hit home so much that it reminded me to just, again, sit with myself. I was taking on
Right.
a lot of other responsibilities, and I just sat with myself for about 3 days, and I cried. I thought
Right.
to myself. I I was writing, and I even was just speaking my thoughts out loud as if he was just sitting right next to me. It wasn't a feeling of regret or anything, but like it was a lot, just
I
grief
can
in
imagine.
general. So um, I was working myself through that, and one day it was a Staples, like a block away. After I worked out, I went to the Staples. I found a journal, picked that journal up, and I was like, man, every single day as I deal with this grief, I'm gonna acknowledge how I feel. And for 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 about 2 to 3 months straight before I moved out, I made it my business to write down how I felt every single day. And I was just being honest. If I wasn't feeling up for it today, I'll just be honest. And that led to me, a couple months later, just feeling like this new rejuvenated energy about everything that I was doing. And even my partner at the time was looking at me like, are you sure you're okay? Because your whole energy just changed. Like how was it that we was both this emotional, but now it don't seem like you going through it? And I wasn't I wasn't trying to explain to her at the time because when you're doing your self healing, if
Yes.
somebody's like, hey, you need to do this too, it almost comes off as like, hey, they not doing the work on their own. So I never wanted to throw that in their face, in her face. I
Mm.
was just like, it's just a transition. So, like I said, I didn't know where I was going. Um, One day she asked me, where you plan on moving to? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have it figured out. But
Right.
it's but 2 months in, something's gonna come up. Literally, like a week later, um, my aunt's husband, he's always been like an uncle to me, but they had recently got married around that time. He reached out. He said, "Hey, I got a house in Silver Spring in Maryland that I'm not staying at. You could stay there until you figure out your situation."
Wow.
When I got that call, it was like confirmation that the work that I was doing the whole time
Mhm.
was paying for that. Like, don't worry, just continue to do your work, and
Yeah.
that's that's what I carried out here into Thailand. So throughout that
Mhm.
time, when I moved from the spot that I was living at with my ex partner, I took that journal. I did my writings. I did my morning meditations. Did affirmations. And yeah, it all probably sounds cliche, but this was the real work. Um,
Yeah.
I was doing it every single day while living in that house that he had gave me the opportunity to live in. I stayed there for about, it wasn't even a full year. It was
Mm.
about 10 months. And while I was there, I had like created a film project series for a youth basketball camp. I
Okay.
started that completely like funded on my own. I was asking for like sponsorships and donations. I got a few donations and stuff, but it was a project that I wanted to do. Um, Collaborated with a team, and we just built it up from there. So throughout that summer, I was doing a few episodes. So that was like rejuvenating. Again, I wasn't getting paid a lot of money. It was just the passion, and it
Mhm.
wasn't what I was used to, obviously, but everything was being accounted for because I was doing the work. I didn't have more than what I needed, and I didn't have anything less. And
Right.
every night, it was a blessing. Some days, I literally went on like a fast, like not eating, just completely relying on spirit and faith. That's another thing. So inside of doing that, after the youth series was over, I started training, like doing physical training with other
Mhm.
people. I got certified in personal training and exercise. And one of my friends he had actually referred me to do the certification, and then he referred me to the gym that he was working at. So from there, it didn't feel like a pivot, but it was something I was taking on. I kind of missed something inside of letting go the whole video production business that I had
Right.
dreamed about. It wasn't that I was letting it go. It was like the universe or spirit was telling me, "Hey, it's there.
Right.
Put all your energy into yourself, back into yourself." So, um, I had like one of the biggest opportunities for a music video of my life during that same time, and, I went to LA. I shot the video, and man, like it brought so much attention my way. Like people were like, "Man, you've been working for this," and it was really an eye opener because I had shot like a handful of videos that year, so I wasn't even thinking that something like that would come along. But to uh, it's like what you said as far as the networking. I got that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity because someone from in my area knew that I was in California at the time, and he just
Mm-hmm.
knew I was prepared for the moment. He knew I had the
Mm-hmm.
resources, and he honestly couldn't make it out. But he was like, "Hey, I see you out there. I got this opportunity for you, so get on it." That opportunity came, and like within the same week, like a few more opportunities came, and I was like, "Man, I I can't believe it. Like the whole year was just an eye opener, bro." So I did about 30 days in California just doing what I love. I started out sleeping
Right.
on the floor of an Airbnb with a few other people. And then by the end of the trip, I had my own bed. I was the only one in the Airbnb and just doing my thing. I was in downtown LA just living the life. So um, that was like a preview of something that I had always wanted to do. Just get out and live my dream and pursue my dreams in another state. I came home and that's when I started the personal training because I was like, man, I felt accomplished. I felt like that opportunity came my way and I didn't even have to like force my way into it. So if another one comes my way, I'll be ready for it. So even while I was there, I was working out and exercising. And the people that I met in California was like, "Man, you exercise like this every day?" So that was like the light bulb in my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just take this seriously. I'm gonna take my health and
Right.
physical education seriously, and I'm gonna share my knowledge with those that's around me. So I started physical training and doing like fruit juicing and meal prep and stuff like that. Um, Throughout those couple months, I was studying, working in the gym, and another opportunity for me to work at the company that my friend's mom had put me on to. It came
Mm-hmm.
about. Mine, I didn't hear. I haven't heard a word from them since like COVID. So it
Right.
was like, man, all right, I'll definitely take it. They said I had to go to
Right.
Maine for like a month, and I was
Right.
like, man, let's get it done. So I told the gym, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't stay here. I got an opportunity, so I'm gonna be up there. I don't know how long, but maybe I'll come back and I'll work in the gym again. But
Right.
again, I had the entrepreneurial mindset. I was already doing like a side business, taking other clients. So I'm like, I could just take that to another state. So
Yep.
I went to Maine. I told my uncle, I said, hey, I don't know what's ahead of me, but I'm leaving. I'm going to Maine, and I might not be back. In my head, I'm like, the max you can do on a job is like a 1 year term, but you
Right.
have to like renew every 30 days. So I knew, of course, I'd be gone for a month. So I told him, hey, I'm going out to Maine for at least a month, but I, I'm gonna be looking for apartments and stuff while I'm there. So I'll make sure I clean up everything. He's like, all right, okay, cool. Don't worry about nothing. That's fine. I'm like, all right, I thank you for the opportunity. Boom. I worked a couple months there, and like the first month, my supervisor asked me like, "How long do you plan on staying?" And I was like, "I'm gonna rack up. I'm gonna just stack up. I'll stay if you need me to." So they were like, they were happy to hear that. They were like, "All right, cool. We're gonna need the help." And so for the next few months, I was still working out. I had actually found
Mhm.
a couple people that I could train, like a couple coworkers.
Right.
So I kind of built a little cohort in that.
Hmm.
I pump my social media pages with the physical education, and I was just doing a lot of studying. I invested in like a class to learn how to buy land. So
Okay.
just investing in myself. But about month 2 or month 3, the job started downsizing, and
Mm.
I was my position was operations. So
Right.
any information that was coming in, I would know first. So they
Right.
would come to me and tell me, "Hey, uh, don't let such and such know, but be prepared because might be they might be sent home
Right.
because we're just downsizing." Little did I know that they would not need me anymore. And it wasn't. I was the only operations specialist there, so it
Mm.
never crossed my mind. But it came from me to renew my date, and I was like, I was asking my supervisor, so when do you want to? What date should I renew myself for? Because I was renewing everybody else's dates, but mine was coming
Right.
up. Like, when
Right.
should I renew mine? And she was like, "Let me get back to you on that." The next
Wow.
day, kind of stalled. So I didn't really think much of it. I was like, all right, maybe they just wait until the last minute, like usual. She came
Right.
to me, she sat down, and she was like, hey, so we're not going to need you anymore. Actually, we're
Wow.
downsizing the whole event. So I'm like, man, like I can't imagine going back home to just I, trust and believe. I had enough saved and everything. But I just couldn't imagine going back home because I had already had my mind made up. Like, hey, I'm gonna do a couple months here. I'm gonna go ahead and
Hmm.
grab this apartment. I'm gonna do this, and everything just all of that just got erased. Like it was like, what do you do now? She gave me
Right.
like a week notice in advance to go ahead and go back home.
Wow.
So like throughout the time I was there, I was studying and stuff, but I had gotten away from like my writings.
Right.
But because I planted that seed, I when that came about, anytime a hard time comes about now, I go back to my journal
Yeah.
and I start journaling, start getting quiet, start
Right.
just isolating, and it took me back to a note that I had in my phone, and
Mm.
I wrote down that I was planning a trip months before that to go to Thailand. So I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna try to I'm gonna go do a vacation for a month
Right.
and see how I feel. Mind you, before I even like earlier that year, I was seeing like TikToks and stuff about Thailand the whole time. I'm like, I could really probably make this transition with what I got stacked up. But
Right.
initially, I was just like vacation for a month, 30 days. It'll be my first time just doing that for a month. I'll just sit and I'll chill out. But I'm
Okay.
not telling anybody. I'm
Mm.
very imperative because what people would see as like a impulsive decision would be very hard
Right.
to explain. And I wasn't. I'm not the type to just constantly tell you, oh, this is what I'm doing, just for you to just give me pushback. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Yeah, I have. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be making this. So I finally said, like the day before I left the job, I booked a flight. It was a round trip at first. Booked the flight 30 days, and I'm like, hey, I'll go from May to the end of June. Boom. Well,
Mhm.
it was like late April to the end of May or so, and then I'll come back and figure it out. I
Yeah.
had to fly back home.
Wow.
I went to the house that I was staying, my uncle's other house, and
Mhm.
I switched out my suitcase, but I didn't even tell him that I was back in town. I just went
Wow.
in, switched out the suitcase,
Right.
and I stopped past my dad's house. My flight didn't leave until about 3 days later. But
Wow.
me and my dad had a little bit of differences leading up to that.
Right.
So I was like, before I do go out and go somewhere, I could have stayed at the house at my uncle's house and not said nothing. But I'm like,
Right.
I'm gonna go chill with pops, and because I got something to get off my chest. And that first night that I popped up, I was already sitting in his house. I got a key to his house. He walked in the door and he was looking like, what the hell? And man, we just chopped it up and we just let each other know how we was feeling. Both apologized, and throughout that weekend or those couple days we were just chilling. I think for a couple of those days he was supposed to go to work. He didn't even go to work. He was just we was just chilling.
I think he just wanted to spend time with his son. That I think that you by you coming over there, you brought a lot of joy to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So did those couple days, but even he thought I was going back to work, and I had to uh, I had to get a taxi ride to the airport, and my uncle works for like a taxi cab company. His brother works for a taxi cab company. I didn't want to pay for Uber. The Uber was like $100 or so. And I was like, "Hey, could Uncle David just send a taxi to the house?" He was like, "Where you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going back to work." He's like, "Oh, all right." Little did I know I had to tell the taxi driver where I was going.
Oh,
But
ooh,
nonetheless, he was he like nobody knew anything. So
right,
I made it out here and I just kind of disconnected. Like I said, it started off a vacation, but I took the time to, not I wasn't posting on social media for a little moment. I wasn't reaching out back home. I was really just taking that time to get my mind right because like I said, I did not know I did not know that I was preparing for the unknown. I didn't know that the job was going to lay me off. So
right,
as soon as I arrived in Thailand, I'm like, yo, this is actually what I've always wanted to do. Just chill out
right,
for a while and actually just, get back to having fun, um, doing the real work, which is the
yeah.
self work, the reflections, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I had did that for a month. But I tell you, boy, it's something about that the hustle and the American dream that does not
Right.
allow you to rest.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I after a while, I felt like, man, I have to be doing something.
Right.
So, of course, everybody, a lot of people, they vlogging out here, they showing it, they're
Mm-hmm.
sharing their stories about their everyday life.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get accustomed to like letting people know that I'm out here. I kind of when I first came out here, I kind of had a fear of just sharing my story and just putting my own self on camera. I'm used to being
Right.
behind the camera. But it took me a
Right.
long while to even start that YouTube page and get in front of the camera like this. So I'm like, man, yeah, I need to be doing something. And that
Right.
brought me back to film and video. So I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw that they were playing. They had a youth basketball camp out here. Now, mind
Mm.
you, I had already did the series the summer before, so I was
Yeah.
like, it'll be cool if I did an episode out here just to show like the followers back home, hey man, like they playing basketball all over. So I found a and I reached out to one of the directors at the camp. He was like, "Yeah, man, you can come in and shoot." But he was asking, he's like, "Yeah, like, did you come out here for this, or like, are you on vacation?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just on vacation, but bro, I'm just letting it, I'm just letting it out." So I showed him like
Right.
some of my previous work, and he agreed. He was like, "Yeah, you could come to the camp this day," and the following day, I worked with another group of kids. So I did that. Long story short, I was able to meet a few actual international, professional international basketball players through that.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I followed around one of them and I told him, "Hey man, look, I just want to." We had a conversation over lunch after a
Mm-hmm.
pickup game, and I'm like, "Man, I just met you today, but it felt like he just felt so comfortable telling me his story." I'm
Right.
like, I want to document this.
Wow.
So initially, I'm like, all right, I could post this on the series YouTube about the basketball.
Right.
So I stayed with him for about 2 days. He taught physical education at an
Mm.
international school in Phuket in Thailand.
Okay.
I pulled up on him at his school, did an interview, got some B-roll of the workouts that he was doing with the kids.
Right.
Um, I did that for about 2 days, and afterwards, I'm like, all right, I got some work done. I could chill again. I feel like I got a big project now. I'm gonna just go ahead and
Right.
relax, edit this, and again, like it wasn't nothing monetized. It was just
Right.
me fueling that passion back up inside of me. So I'm
Right.
like, all right, cool. Throughout our conversation, he was telling me about different parts of Thailand. So I'm like, all right, I could leave from Phuket. I heard that I could extend my stay through going to immigration. I extended my
Right.
stay. I had canceled my round trip flight by then
Wow.
because I'm like I'm not going back home if I just found a way. Like
Yeah.
it, it's people out here that's thriving, and I
Yep.
want to just document that alone. I've never seen so many people that look like us that were. I didn't
Mm.
know we were this deep in Southeast Asia. Like so, I'm like, I want to keep exploring that and keep hearing other people's stories because it's inspiring to me, and I know it'll be inspiring to somebody else. I moved from Phuket to Bangkok for a few days, and I was going to go to Vietnam because one of the basketball players was telling me he knows a professional team in Vietnam who would love for me to come document. So I was like, all right,
Mm.
I'll book the trip to Vietnam and I'll go meet them. Man, I never even made it to Vietnam because I got to a place in Thailand that I thought I was just going to stay for a weekend,
Right.
and just the atmosphere was so cool.
Wow.
Not only that, I found an apartment that was like $300 a month.
Wow.
That's unheard of. I was looking for an apartment in the States, and it was
Right.
like minimum 1,500. You was getting like
Right.
30,
Right.
like you was getting a small little cubicle, a studio space. 300.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I heard that, I'm like, man, nah, I'll make this home base for at
Mm-hmm.
least a year. I'll figure out how to, keep extending, and I'll travel. If I gotta go home, I'll make my way home sometime. But
Yeah.
this is my home base. I locked in a lease. Great thing about out here is no credit checks. There's no
Mm.
background checks. There's
Mm.
no there's no proof of income. They
Right.
see they lay out the terms. They let you know how long you. I mean, how long you can stay. And
Right.
I said I'll get it for. I started out doing 6 months, and then I ended up extending for a year.
Wow.
On month 2, I had was still networking. I made a flyer to
Right.
send out. There's this Facebook group chat called Brothers and Sisters of Thailand, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how our community stays in connection with each other and what's going on out here in Thailand. I put a flyer inside that group chat about my services as a digital creator, video production, and if anybody wanted to work, we could work. Little did
Right.
I know, I thought it just like flew past a lot of people's heads. I
Right.
got a couple likes, but I didn't feel like
Right.
anybody reached out. I did start working with a couple businesses that was in the area and doing
Mm-hmm.
like commercials for their business.
Right.
And that was pretty cool. But then I got a DM from somebody that was like, "Hey, I was just in Thailand. I'm back in the States, but I want to come back and produce a
Right.
film." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds. We can produce a film, man." He said, "I'm not here, but I'll come back within the next month."
Right.
I kind of let it like fly out my mind because I've been talking to clients all these years. Like I never get
Mm.
my hopes too high, but the
Right.
guy had a portfolio of films that he had already done. So I'm
Right.
like, oh man, this might be real. He hit me up when he got back in Thailand. We had a meeting in the mall, and he just laid everything out. He was like, "Hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. I saw your work. I like your direction and your cinematography, how you shoot your films, and I want to
Right.
hire you and also bring you on as a collaborator, as a co-producer for the film."
Mm.
When he laid out his main idea, this was the synergy. I told him, I said, "Bro, little do you know, I have an interview that I had already done that I had done nothing with.
Right.
And it lines up exactly like with this whole main idea." And I told him
Right.
about the interview that I had done with the teacher, and he was
Right.
like, "Man, well, we got one interview out the way. We just need four more." So after that meeting, bro, it was just like, all right, like everything's aligning, man, and that opened up a door for the next few months. We were traveling
All right, before you
around.
go into that, brother, hey, you don't
Uh,
mind? I did find the trailer. You want me to show the trailer?
oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
You want me to
Oh,
show
for
the trailer?
sure.
All right, I'm
For
gonna show
sure.
the trailer. Let me bring it up for a minute. But yeah, finish what you were saying. While I'm bringing it up. Hold on. I'm
So
gonna bring it up.
during our initial meeting, he had plans of he expressed his plans of distribution, and that's when I knew it was real because
Right.
a lot of people would come to me and talk about projects, but when it's time to distribute, they say, "Oh, we can put it anywhere," and that's not. I'm an entrepreneur, bro. Like
Right.
a hustler first. If it's not about it's the main source is the distribution. It's
Yes.
not, oh, we do this work and then we just it's just out in the blue. We could uh just let it be for free. Like
Home.
that's I
Never
didn't get
thought.
into that. So when he started talking about distribution and
It's
contracts,
more than just a
that's
new home.
Never thought once the whole time.
Let me trying to. All right, I got it up right now. But finish what you were saying, bro. I'm getting it queued up right now so that people can see.
when he started talking about the distribution and the routes that he wanted to go. One was being a film festival. And that was a light bulb for me. I'm like, man, I always wanted, it takes me back to 2018. I always wanted to do a feature length and actually submit to a film festival, like actually have viewers in a theater looking at a piece of work. I had millions of views on YouTube, but I've never physically seen somebody or so many people actually looking at the work. So
Mm.
when he expressed that, I'm like, yeah, this is a go. We already got a piece of the work done. Let's lock in for these 4 months. We traveled around for a few months to different places in Thailand, met a few different people, met another group called Adventures While Black, and they host events for people of color who have moved abroad, and just as like a kickback space, like just come chill, be around your people, like get some information, network, and stuff like that. So inside those 4 months, we got a lot of stuff done, and that's when we was able to produce this project, man.
Awesome. So I'm gonna cue it up. This is Thai in Color. You wanna like talk about like who's in the video a little bit before I play it?
Yeah, so we got around to document. Now, disclaimer, you will see that we documented. Well, let me just say this first. We got around to document about 5 out of the 6 people that we wanted to document. Um, they're all people of color, hence the title Thailand in Color. Just talking about their experience, their reason for traveling abroad, and the pressures that they've worked through while they live abroad. And it helped not only me but the actual producer himself to see the bigger picture of moving outside your comfort zone. So the people that we have is Clarence Jeffrey. That's the professional international basketball player. He's been living over here for about uh, 8 years. Um, 8 years abroad between China and Thailand. We have Mark Holland. He's a fellow YouTuber, but he's also ex-military. He decided to uh, leave the military and pursue higher education, and also pursue a life of what he calls freedom. Um,
Mm,
we also have another brother um, that started his own. Him and his wife started their own yoga retreat up in Chiang Mai. Um,
mm,
we went to visit him, and that was like very eye opening. Their yoga retreat is like, I think they have it throughout the whole year, but like they have a huge space of land in Chiang Mai where people can come and just do a digital detox. No phones, no
mm.
nothing. Just literally learn how to do yoga, learn how to meditate, and just chill, meet other people. We also interviewed a comedian and a chef from Los Angeles and slash Mississippi. The chef has a restaurant, 2 restaurants on the same block. One's
Wow.
a cafe, and the other one is more of a dinner spot slash
Mm-hmm.
bar. And it's pretty known in the area of Jomtien in Thailand. It's called Culture
Okay.
with a Q. Um, food is wow, like food is good. That it really brings you back home. It really brings
Uh,
you back. So, oh yeah. So disclaimer: we definitely wanted to interview a few women, but unfortunately, one of the women she owns a restaurant also. She wasn't able to. We wasn't able to coordinate that interview with her when we did show up. She had to go back home,
right.
and another interview was with a couple. But we had a lot going on. That whole day was just full of activity, so we were both tired. They were tired, so they were like, we could just use what we have, which turned out still pretty good. But I just wanted to lay that out there just in case somebody be like, "There's no women talking about their experience." It
Right.
wasn't done on purpose, but maybe who knows? In the future, we'll do something even more. So I thank you
All right.
for this.
Yeah, no problem. Here is the trailer for Thailand in Color. Here we go.
For many BIPOC foreigners, Thailand is more than just a new home.
Never thought once, the whole time, that I would be going to Asia, ever.
It's a land of reinvention. Here, diverse voices are weaving their own stories in spaces of education, entrepreneurship, and creativity, redefining what it means to live, work, and thrive abroad.
We over across the water, and us African American community is not as big. Even American community is not as big. So you gotta have a Russian community, you gotta have a Thai following. You have to build a community for everybody.
These individuals find themselves not only building businesses, but also bridging communities, forging connections across borders, and breaking barriers. For many BIPOC,
That was dope. That was dope. So how can people get the chance to watch the film? Where can they go to watch the film? Or how they can support and watch the film?
In August, it premieres on Tubi, the platform
Okay.
Tubi. In August, we don't have an official date yet because it's still going through like processing, but contracts have already been signed. Once we get the official date, we'll let you know. You can follow at Thailand in Color on Instagram to get the official date, which will be for sure in August.
So make sure you follow Thai in Color on social media to get the update when the film will be available for the public. Um, but just like let's talk about like again like that transition. You did the
So
documentary,
it's
the
funny, man.
educator, the educator in Thailand.
So
Bring it full
I
circle.
was I was I was inspired by the first interview that I had done, and how Clarence Jeffrey, the guy that you seen looking outside the gate in the video in the film, how he suffered a part of his story. He suffered through an injury, like about midway into his season of playing basketball out here, and it was a knee injury. And so one of the things that he expresses that um, when you're playing basketball internationally, they're so quick to cut you if you just can't fulfill your duties because they'll just pick up someone else. So once he got injured, uh, he had to obviously go home for his treatment and stuff, but um, he had to look for other opportunities. Being abroad spoils you, so going home, I mean, as he was said, like it would just it's eye opening, man. Just some of the stuff that we just put up with, thinking that this is the only choice while living in America, So after him doing that first couple of years abroad and then coming back, he's like, nah, this is not it. This my paycheck ain't stretching as far as it would if I do this somewhere else. So he actually had a background in education, so he told me that he had a friend that was like, "Hey, look at this website. They have job opportunities for teaching."
Right.
And he said he applied to one, and like within a week, they got back to him, and he was right back out abroad. So when he that kind of inspired me to like other options and other avenues that I could do. But I, even in America, I never thought about teaching, bro. Like my mom's been a teacher. I've seen for years, like her come home just stressed out about the kids and stuff.
Right.
So was the last thing on my mind that I wanted to do, especially in America. I'm like,
Right.
but I love kids. Like I like mentoring. Don't get me wrong, but traditional teaching setup, I just never thought it would be for me.
Right.
Maybe somewhere in a rec center or something like that. Cool, but
Facts, facts.
or coach. So by me following him around and then actually seeing the school that he was working at, he works at an international school, and it's completely opposite from the school that I work at now.
Right.
But he had like swimming pools in the schools, ski simulators, just
Right.
stuff that it looked like a college campus. And it was literally, I think, just a grade school. I don't even think they were high school yet. I was
Wow.
like, yo, okay, so school here is like definitely different. So it was, yeah, it was eye opening. So after finishing editing the documentary, I got back to the point where we had finished everything. It was just I felt like I was back at stagnation because again, I accomplished what I had been thinking about for so long.
Right.
And yeah, I was happy, I was fulfilled going to the film festival.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a great feeling. But afterwards, I was like, man, I was to be honest steady trying to force like continuing doing music videos. I would, form projects back home and reach out to former clients, say, hey, I'm still doing music videos. You can shoot with my partners. They'll
Right.
send me the footage to edit, and then
Right.
I'll continue and we could get the productions done like that.
Right.
That didn't last after a while. After a while, I went from like my client base just started dropping lower and lower because they were just
Right.
seeing the differences in content of what
Right.
I was putting out. So they like, hey, well, it's funny. So when I start battling with myself about a decision that I should make, it's like the universe speaks.
Right.
So I'm like, one part of me is like, let it go. Like
Right.
try to try to look for further education into something else,
Right.
or keep on pushing.
Right.
When I tell you there were moments like where I go back and I be like, hold on, the film isn't officially out, so I could still try to work on the film and
Mhm.
make this edit right, or uh, uh, just trying to find little things to do. And I was honestly nitpicking at myself.
Right.
I didn't take the signs until like my computer start literally throwing me signs. My computer would crash
Wow.
temporarily, but it would just crash out on me, and I have to just sit for a couple days and just forget about it and like just go have some fun. Or that was like just small signals. I tried to come back to it one day. I seen that the computer was working again. It crashed again, and I'm
Right.
like, "Yo!" I reached back out to the partner that helped me co-produce. He's like, "Did you? You were sending over another draft?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying. I'll try to get it out." I was able to do that, but it crashed again. Once I finally sent it to him, it was like the universe was telling me, like, "You're done. Just
Right.
stop. You don't have to do anymore. Like, don't force anything. The more you force it, the more you just gonna be stressed out." They got this common saying in Thailand. They say "sabai sabai," and that means to take it easy, don't
Mm.
worry. Um, and that was like really hitting home. Some days I really had to force myself to do nothing, not pick up a camera, not not go to my computer, and in that again, I started writing, I started journaling, um, going back to my thoughts, and within that time frame, I'd done a couple what they call border runs. So that meant I'd go to a neighboring country just to cross the border and renew like my visa status. And I'm like, man, I started seeing stuff about Thailand getting strict on people doing that. But I actually had a connection with like a Thai group, like some locals here. So anytime I would go with them to the border, they weren't getting eggs, no question. Like they would just they would have easy done. But I didn't feel like, I was doing myself a service, but also I'm pretty conscious about those around me.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike a lot of other people, I'm big on like being within the community. So I wanted to first by studying the language.
Right.
I was doing like just grabbing like Thai books and just trying to learn the language on my own. I don't want to be that American that's just like, oh, you got to speak to me in English for me to understand. None of that. Like, I wanted to adapt to the culture.
Right.
So education was a way of doing that. I saw that you could, get an education visa, which was by studying the language.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many uh, what they call expats here that
Right.
that go about it that route
Right.
that they kind of take it for they take it for granted and they just pay for the education visa
Right.
and the actual school is just like, all right, you don't have to come to class, they won't even teach you, they'll just sign off on your visa because they know
Right.
people just want to stay. And
Right.
it's like, do I really want to pay for the whole year just
Right.
for a teacher just to not teach? So I'm like, nah, I'll just study on my own. So I was teaching myself the language, and then um someone told me, or I seen like a flyer on like Instagram about teaching in Thailand. So if you do teach, you do get a visa and a work permit to stay for your duration. So I
Right.
was like, if I'm trying to learn Thai, it would be nothing for me to try to teach someone English. Like, and for them, learning English is like that money gap. As soon as they learn English, they could get any job, especially once someone see their work ethic.
Yeah.
So it was like, man, I'll definitely teach English. So I thought I needed a TEFL certification to teach
Right.
English, but come to find out I didn't. When I submitted my information to the company that I saw, um, I got like a response back. This was like in January. They had responded back to me, and the company was like starting in like the UK.
Right.
So a guy had reached out to me, and he was like, "We got a few schools in your area, and we got a few schools in another area that you could work at." And I was like, "Man, all right, this is becoming real."
Right.
I got a response back. So he had sent me a school after we interview went good. It was actually
Right.
pretty simple. It was almost like they were just looking for somebody to apply. So he said, I'm gonna send you the information about the school. And I hadn't even officially made up my mind, but because the school was so close, I'm
Right.
like, all right, might as well. I had I got that opportunity. I started reading through it, and um, around the same time, I came across a person on TikTok, a lady on TikTok. She was showing her experience, something like the exact video that I did,
Right.
showing her experience working at a school somewhere near close to Bangkok.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, all right, this looks pretty doable. It looked pretty cool. Like I'm just catching the vibes and
Right.
just seeing how the kids interact, seeing how she interact with the kids, just seeing the whole process. I'm like, all right, maybe this is cool. I never got back to the guy who sent me to school until about a week or so later, because like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I was still transitioning of letting go. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know if this is something that I just wanted to do. It was parts of me saying, "Man, why would you come to Thailand just to jump back into like the whole
Right.
9 to 5 thing?" But then I took some time to self reflect. I'm like, man, this don't even feel like work. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I love working with kids. So I responded back to the email about the first opportunity, but they were like, "Oh, the school doesn't doesn't want any more teachers." So
Right.
I was like, "Oh, all right, okay." I got a random direct message, a DM from a brother. He just hit me out of nowhere, bro. He's like, "Hey, interested in teacher?" The message, and I'm like, we didn't follow each other. We had
Right.
no mutual followers
Right.
or anything. And I'm looking, I'm like, I told you, I'm always on go. So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. I asked no questions. I asked, who are you? How'd you find me at that point?
Right.
I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, cool. I work for such and such. Come to find out the company that he works for was the same company that the lady
Wow.
on TikTok works for. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh man, all right. So I seen a preview. That looks pretty cool. So I went back to look at some of her videos again. And then I went back and started responding to him again. He's like, hey, here goes the application. Go ahead and submit it. And yeah,
Wow.
you can get started like that. And I applied. Only after I applied, I was like, hey, bro, how did you find me?
Facts. You're like, how? Like,
Like this came out of nowhere, the
right.
universe. So
Did he even
yeah,
tell you how he found you?
he said that he had seen me in like a comment section of a older video
Okay.
of I believe the person was teaching, but I didn't even remember myself. But he had
Right.
seen me in a comment section. Come to find out, like he does like recruitment, but he also teaches within the company too. So
Okay. Gotcha.
he was just referring, throwing a referral out there, like,
Gotcha.
hey,
Got
check this out. So which was clutch. He sent me that, and they responded back within the same week. I
it.
think
Wow.
we interviewed that next week, and the interview went great. Didn't really have too much concern. They asked me where did I want to. They gave me the option of where did I want to teach. They had a few different areas. It was like Bangkok, which is central Thailand, or northeast or surrounding areas of Bangkok. And uh, I was hearing so much about the area that I'm in now that I wanted to uh, come here. So I
Right.
was like, yeah, I want to be in Northeast Thailand. So they're like, all right, okay, cool. So we'll start sending you some options.
Wow.
So from February to April, they were just sending me options, and then we started training. And it just went from there, man.
That's awesome, man. And just talk about just the experience so far with the kids. 'Cause I saw the video and like they had like a true like celebration for you on your first day, which was that's unheard of in the United States.
Yeah.
You know, your first day teacher don't get celebration, nothing like that. But you got like this big celebration. Just
Yeah.
talk about that, man.
Teaching here is probably one of the best experiences that I've had in my lifetime. Because again, I didn't plan on teaching. It wasn't like I went to school for it, or
Right,
wasn't. It was never something that crossed my mind.
right,
So I'm just taking it all in as it comes. That first day, well, the first couple days we had to come to the school without the kids being there.
right,
So the first day we're meeting the staff. The second day we're meeting the staff, more of the staff, and the actual parents. So they
right,
had a ceremony where the parents come and meet the not just the foreign teachers, but teachers in general.
right,
So I'm not the only foreign teacher that works at the school. Within the program, they sent four of us here to this school. There's two ladies from South Africa and one other guy. He's from Texas. So by them, um, I guess it's tradition to, uh, introduce the new teachers and the actual foreign teachers to the school. So, like I said, the first official day, we were getting introduced to like they call the principal the director.
Okay.
Um, we got introduced to the director and the other teachers. Walking in, I ain't gonna lie, walking in to meet the principal, the director, man, I got word that he was a former military, like was in the Air Force. So
Okay.
when we walk in, he already got the poker face, like looking, and I ain't gonna lie, like I don't fear people, bro, but like it's all a new experience. It's just like,
Yeah.
man, I don't want. I'm not trying to come here to make this dude look bad. I don't know what his preconceptions are of me or anything, but we sat down. We was sitting at the round table, and he was just looking at first, just filling out the vibe,
Right.
and then he started asking each individual teacher like a little personal question. Hey, where you from? Um, do you speak a little bit of Thai? Uh, he like, hey, are you single? That's what he asked me personally. I'm like, uh, man, look, I dated in the area that I lived in at first, but yeah, I'm
Right.
single now. So he's like, okay, never cracked a smile the whole time. So I'm like, man, what's really going on? Mind you, they in the program while they was training us, they were like, hey, when you get there, teachers are more conservative. You gotta cover up your tattoos. You gotta one person that worked in the program, I think like one of the program managers was like, they gonna tell you you gotta cut your hair.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like you could have told me that when I interviewed. You
Right.
you went to the week of training to tell me that. Come to find out, I I had asked him, I was like, hey, did you actually reach out to the school to see if that's what they said? He
Right.
was like, one of his assistants was like, I'll check and see. They came back like the last day of training. He was like, oh nah, they said you're good.
Uh,
So when I did meet the director and the principal, like he ain't had no facial expression. He kind of checking us out.
right.
I'm like, oh man, do I need? Yeah,
Right.
I need to check. Like, man, after we meet him, we had to walk to like this other room to meet the rest of the staff, and we
Right.
had to stand up and present ourselves. But before we get to the room, I kind of like drifted off from the other teachers, and I walked to the bathroom. So me and him had like another little interaction.
Right.
I'm greeting him. They call it weighing when you do like that. So I greet him, and him
Right.
and his assistant was talking to each other, and he asked his assistant. He was like, "Hey, what's his name again?" And he said my name. So I heard that as I was walking off. I'm like, "Oh man!" I go to the bathroom. We finally go back to the room, and they like, "Yeah." He's talking to his staff. Then he's like, "Finally, foreign teachers, come up, present yourself, tell us your name." And I never was like the first to want to do public speaking, so I had a little butterflies. But I swear he cut straight through it. I was the first person to speak before they handed us the mic. Before he handed me the mic, he's like, he's sitting up like on a panel behind us. We're in front of him, and we got like we call her a coordinator. She's like she works for the teaching program, but she also is familiar with the school. So she's like the mediator between foreign teachers and the school. He tells the coordinator something in Thai. So everybody started laughing. Coordinator like, yeah, he said, go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you from, how old you are. And he said, don't forget to mention that you single. Man, it's a whole room full of majority women in there. I turned back, everybody just started laughing. I'm like, yo,
He trying to hook you up.
I ain't never been in nothing like this. Like, man, so that's when I got the explanation. I'm like, yeah, he real cool, man. Like, so that was the first day. The next day, we had to do the same thing in front of all the parents.
Right.
Um, and the official first day of school, we had to do it again in front of all the students.
Right.
Now, the staff, it was like the staff is only probably about 50 to 100 of us.
Right.
The parents, it was like hundreds, maybe about 500 parents. So the crowd got even bigger as we introducing ourselves. The first day of school, I ain't expected to be so many kids. It's almost like 1,000 kids in the school. I got literally 40 kids per class.
Wow.
So just seeing all the kids, it brought back up butterflies again. I'm like, we repeating the same thing,
Right.
but man, it's so many kids. I told them, I said my name at first. I told them where I was from, how old I was, and the moment the crowd cheered, mind you, there were two other teachers before me. All the teachers had to introduce themselves,
Mhm.
but there were two other foreign teachers before me, and let's just say they didn't get the same reaction. So it wasn't I was expecting
Right.
initially. So I'm like, yeah, hey, my name is Devin. I'm from Washington D.C. I'm 29 years old, um, and I will be teaching. And I just told them each grade that I'll teach. Man, once I said like I teach grades. They call it levels. I teach level 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Right.
After I said, I think after I said 4 or 6, somebody was like, "Woo!" And all started shouting. I'm like, "Yo!" So we started laughing, and that's that picture that you see in
Yes.
the video. The staff started laughing, everybody started laughing, and I was like, man, I never felt so welcome while public speaking and just in general by that many kids, the staff in general too. So that just was an amazing feeling, and that brought all like the nervousness that I had for
Right.
teaching. That brought all of it down. It was like, man, from the first day on, it's so different than America. I wouldn't even feel comfortable telling. Well, when I was a kid, I wasn't comfortable coming up to a teacher telling them, saying, hey, teacher, you look handsome today. You look
Right.
really nice." Man, so many different compliments just off the first day. Kids like, "Oh, I like what you wearing." They're like,
Right.
"Oh, what shoes you got on?" Just stuff like that, man. So it's kind of hard not to make for me not to make the class
Right.
fun at that point. Like, it's so laid back. Like, just to go to talk about my experience of
Right.
just teaching here, I expected it to be much more strict.
Right.
Uh, Not that America is so strict, but even though it tries to be inside the education system, I just thought it would be so much more strict. In all actuality, I get so much more respect than
Mm.
I could imagine. Even when the kids feel like that they're in the wrong, like say for instance, like they could be just being disruptive in class, you'll get a heartfelt apology
Right.
after you acknowledge it. And it won't be nothing after that. In fact, it might strengthen the relationship after that because they see me as a foreign teacher actually caring about them learning. Um, our curriculums are already pre-made. Like
Right.
to teach English, they're already pre-made. I don't
Right.
have to do lesson plans, which is another shocking thing when I tell like other teachers. They like, what? No lesson plans. It's already made for me.
Right.
I'm teaching vocabulary and conversational English.
Right.
So pretty much our average day, will look like either vocabulary, call and response, them watching videos and having to interpret what the video might say, or it's games. Every single day is something fun. It's rare that it's just a boring class.
Right.
But after a while, I say after about 2 or 3 weeks, I had to check my pride
Right.
because of course you go into something like this, how could you not feel good about
Right.
uh teaching them in general? So it got to a point where I was teaching a class full of older students, and they had it was this section inside the curriculum where they had to listen to the video and they had to respond back what they
Right.
heard in the video. And
Right.
so I'm thinking because they're older that they would just get it
Right.
off top, you know. And a
Right.
lot of them, their English is very good. And that day they just wasn't feeling it. You get what I'm saying? They weren't interested in the topic. So that also plays a factor.
Right.
It's a foreign language. I can't in the school. I can't. I mean, in class, I can't speak Thai to them. I'm not supposed to.
Right.
So as much as I may know Thai and I want to, just make it easier for them,
Right.
it has to be English. So some days I might not get a response that I may want, or I might that the student already knows this, and
Right.
it might just they might not get it.
Right.
So within that day, I kind of like my energy felt drained. I'm like, man, I thought y'all would really understand this, but
Right.
what I learned through them is like, man, if their interest isn't really there, it's more just like get the lecture done. Just give them the information
Right.
and don't make it to where as though everything's got to be a test. Like,
Right.
uh, like it's not a test. Just give them the information. If they receive it, they receive it. So it's funny. Like that very next day, there was a random event. So here in Thai schools, they prioritize social events
Mm.
over lecture. It's not about the students coming to class, sitting and just watching the teacher and listening to the teacher the
Right.
whole time. It's
Mm-hmm.
about being active with those who are around you. They have certain activities that they'll do at the school. And one day I might get to school or right before class, and my coordinator is like, "Hey, these kids won't be here today because they have a sports day or they
Wow.
have a scout day,"
Wow.
and it's just like, never mind the curriculum.
Right.
That's the priority. So the very next day after, I had that situation with the older kids, I had a level 3 class, and they're like the middle age of the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 10 minutes in the class, and none of the kids was in the class. Now I usually give a grace period about five minutes,
Right.
just let them get to class because it's like a big campus. The kids are walking to class, but none of the kids came to class. Only one student had came, and before he even sit down, he just showed me his phone, and translate. And he's like, "Teacher, can I go to the concert this period?" And I'm like, "What
Concert.
concert?" He's like, "Yeah, the concert at the Dome." So I just look, and I'm like, "What?" So I look around. I'm like, "That's why the kids are here." Man, I go outside. I walk outside my door. I told him, "Yeah, just go ahead." I go outside at the Dome. They're having a full blown concert. I don't know if you familiar with Go Go?
Go go. Yes, I am.
Man, like the whole Go Go function. They had a
Wow.
band. It was a kids band. They got the whole drum set, kids performing, and
Wow.
the whole school is there. I go to another teacher's class. He's like, "Yeah, a couple students came to my class. They were like, they just wanted to go to the concert." And I'm like, man, I said, I took the opportunity, bro. I said, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and go out there with them. I went down there. I just started listening to the music. I started celebrating with them.
But that's amazing that, I know they want education, education, learn, but what this is doing is this helping them build social skills, like things that they really need in the real world of how do you interact with your counterpart.
Yes, definitely. One thing that's helped me inside the class is some kids do like social media is everywhere. So a lot of kids are on social media heavy and they may know a little more English than other kids. So within a class, they're actually able to translate to their peers, and that puts a lot less work on me sometimes. So I'm like, hey man, whatever works, work. We could all learn together. You feel me?
Hold on, say it over again because we kind of internet
Oh,
problem. Oh yeah, start over again about when I said that how it teaches social skills to kids of
definitely.
where it's going to be important as they get older with their counterparts.
Definitely. Just I mean, we seen that in America. Like, sure, you have your valedictorians and your kids that would just study, 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 but there are a lot of smart individuals, smart entrepreneurs who excel in the extracurricular activities
Yes.
more than the actual school and the lecture and actual in the classroom. For me personally, I can attest to that. I love going to rec more than I actually like sitting in the class. I probably
Yeah.
had a little bit of ADHD, but I learn more. Like I learn more from my peers inside the classroom where I teach now. Some of the students know a little bit more English than the other students, so they're able to translate certain words that I'm not able to translate to them, and they're able to help them understand. So when they're writing in their books and one person gets an answer and I see them take their book and pass it back to their friends,
Right.
we may consider that in America cheating.
Right.
That's not cheating. It's
Right.
help your peer, help your partner right next to you, because you'll always have that. In the everyday world, if I don't know a word or something like that, I could call on somebody, or even just having the phone.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of teachers, a lot of foreign teachers, even in training, they stress like, don't let your kids have their phones. They'll be playing games, etc. And that's not something that I stress about, because first, the kid is going to be a kid. If they want to learn, if the topic is actually interesting, they'll sit there and they'll listen to you. Some kids do play games on their phone, but again, they're going to be kids. But also, they're translating on their phone. So how
Right.
can I ever get mad at that? How can I
Right.
ever get mad at a kid actually using this new technology like Chat GBT, and
Hmm.
they're trying to find the answer and they
Right.
actually find the answer, get it right? It's like, I can't be mad at that. In the everyday world, I'll do the same thing.
Right.
I gotta walk up there, for example, there are restaurants out here that have no English on the menu.
Right.
I don't walk into the restaurant and just be clueless. I'm gonna use my phone and I'm gonna try to
Right.
figure it out. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So just like you said, man, it builds their social skills, and that's man, that's the biggest culture shocks. I have no bad culture shocks out here. That's
Right.
the biggest culture shock in the school itself. It's like, let the kids be kids. Sometimes I've been prompted by like my coordinator. If you see a child sleeping in class, don't take that as a sign of disrespect.
Right.
They could be sleeping because they've worked with their parents
Yeah.
outside of the classroom that night before,
Yeah.
and they're just catching up on rest.
Yeah.
Allow them that space. And when you do, man, you see so much more interaction after you've allowed that. I've had a student come up to me and he's like, he was kind of scared to do it, but he's showing me his phone. He's in the back of the class. He's like, "Can I get this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." So he walks out of class, he takes the call, he comes to me, he's like, "Hey, I gotta leave school." That's completely different. We ain't never heard of that in
Right.
America.
No.
But it calls for a different measure. I'm like, man, look, go do what you need to do. Go handle what
Right.
you need to handle.
Right.
Man, every single day that kid comes to me in between classes and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" We dab up. "Hey, what's up?" So sometimes my classroom is like the free time class. Sometimes it's the bedroom. Sometimes it's the beauty salon. Sometimes it's the playroom. But I'm like, hey, come do what you need to do
Right.
because uh, life is not. It's not that serious to that extent where it's just lecture, lecture, lecture. You can
Right.
learn more through different avenues, and that's like I don't know if it's just my school.
Right.
Um, and the fact that it's a public school, but our director gives us so much more freedom to have that. He comes around sometimes and he'll just pop up in the classroom and he may just go around and ask a student individually, "Hey, you having fun? You having fun?" And it's like that just changes the whole dynamic because if he cares about that, then the kids aren't stressed about, succeeding or failing,
Yeah. Because again, you don't know what they're dealing at home. Like you said, the difference with the kids here is like they whatever their parent jobs are, parents, they're doing that job too. And
Yeah.
so school is kind of their getaway
Yeah,
in a way. You know what I mean? It's their, I don't want to say it, but it's like their Disneyland just to
for sure.
be around other kids, learn, but especially just how the school is setting up different kind of entertainment to keep them
For sure.
happy and be in joy for how many hours they're there at that school, man. But yo, man, this has been a dope conversation, man. I enjoyed it, man. This is going on 2 hours. This was dope. This was really, really dope. How can people find you, man?
You can find me on Instagram at Devin Santino. The A in Santino is a X, so it's just Devin Santino with an X. Or you can find me on TikTok. Stack my 2 cents. Stack my 2 cents. Um, I also have YouTube. My personal YouTube is Devin Santino. I'll be posting some more content on there in the future. And oh yeah, again at Thailand In Color on Instagram. That's a movement bigger than just Thailand. If you want to get information about just how to move abroad or just further information in general, that'll be a good source. So I thank you for having me, for sure, and I'll definitely keep in touch, man.
Definitely, we definitely gotta keep in touch, man. Again, this has been another great episode on the podcast. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and then also all his links will be in the description below. And we're out. Peace. All right,
Peace.
stay on for 1 second.